We're talking with Kathleen Edwards here on WNCW. Want to do another song, you guys?
Yeah. Well, that's a perfect segue. We'll do. I do a song called "Options Open." Very apropos. Okay. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. I love you so much. Everything you do, you say, you speak, you wear, it just works for me. But I blame it on a weekly flyer that took me down a crappy tire. 'Cause you were smiling when I looked up. I guess we'll always have a parking lot. For 39 years I was keeping my options open. I was keeping my options open. And there were some things, oh, behind me. Just an open door I did not close when I was lonely. But I swore I wouldn't go near you with a 10-foot pole. And it's not my fault that I was not sure. I'm holding up a mirror and we look so sweet. You made me strong, I was wanted for nothing. For 39 years I've been keeping my options open. I've been keeping for 39 years I was keeping my options open. And you don't have to say it. Nobody's harder on me than me. And if you don't believe it, then there's nothing I can say. I was in this with you. I want it, don't you want it too? For 39 years I was keeping my options open. I've been keeping my For 39 years I've been keeping my options open. I've been keeping my for 39 years I've been keeping my options open.
Options Open, one of the songs on the Total Freedom album from Kathleen Edwards here on WNCW. She's live this afternoon with Colin Cripps on the guitar. And Colin Cripps, we've played his stuff with Blue Rodeo the past few years. And
nice.
Who else? You played with a bunch of folks over the years. Kathleen off and on.
Yes,
Blue Rodeo.
I've been around.
Yeah. Is it on this tour here, where you're playing tonight in Asheville at the Grey Eagle, and I'm sorry if some of these shows are sold out. I don't know the status, but tonight Grey Eagle, tomorrow night the Cat's Cradle in Carborough, and then Saturday at the Evening Muse in Charlotte. Is it just the two of you, or is it a full-on band?
It is also a gentleman named Aaron Goldstein is joining us, and he's my pedal steel player, also from Toronto. Yeah.
Ah,
So
okay.
we're doing a trio. That's we did a bunch of shows this summer, full band, and some as a trio 4-piece, and it's really nice because sometimes these rooms are, especially smaller rooms, it's really nice for me as a singer to not have to sing over a band when you're on a smaller stage, and so I'm really enjoying that. Yeah.
Yeah, good.
We certainly did that for years, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah.
The big old band and all that. And
Yeah.
big places and small places, yeah. Well, Colin has lent a lot to your fine work over the years, and some other folks that that you've played well with over the years. Jim Bryson, you credit him a lot on Total Freedom for adding a lot of creative influence.
Absolutely.
He produced this on Total Freedom, did he? Or
Yeah, we produced it. Ian Fitchuk also was part of that, and he's a Nashville-based producer. But Jim, I had started the record and had really stalled. I was sort of in between. I was going through some personal stuff, and Jim was my, he and I live very close to one another. He's actually the reason I moved to Stittsville and picked. He named Quitters as a joke. He was the guy who came up with that name, and so he absolutely did play a huge role in helping me finish that record, and he co-produced, probably more than half the record for sure. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Oh, was there anything that was particularly challenging for you with making this album since you had been on a hiatus for a little while? Was it just muscle memory of such, or was it a reminder of why you had maybe decided you needed a hiatus?
No, I was actually felt like making my first record again, in the sense that I think, in my past experience, you kind of think, okay, well, I made this record and then I toured it, and then you go home and your job is to sort of write songs for a new record. And usually, for an artist like me, I mean, it's very nuanced. It's not like I made a black metal record and then I'm going to do a gospel record. But you kind of think of what's the tone going to be? What am I going to do? What have I been craving to add into my repertoire? Sometimes for people that's, more acoustic storytelling kind of record, or versus like a record like Back to Me that's a really full band rock and roll, running down a dream Tom Petty influenced record. And I think this time around, I wasn't feeling particularly, I was not judging or considering what I was doing in the studio based on my last work. I felt pretty uninhibited to just make a record that felt right. And for me, it's always been, we were talking about this today in the car, for me, it's always been about just writing songs that I think are the best songs I can write. I mean, time sometimes reveals that they are not, and sometimes it reveals that they are. But I think that's always been at the core of it. And so I just brought songs that meant something to me to the table, and finding the energy that appropriately matched where I was at, and we made it work.
I think your record really was to mark where you are now in terms of what you wanted to say.
Yeah.
And then the songs themselves kind of influence what the arrangement and production maybe is going to be like?
Sometimes. Interestingly, when I first started making the record, Ian Fitchuk we ended up sitting down one day because, we weren't necessarily, some of the songs weren't going the way I thought they were supposed to go. And he had this interpretation that my record would actually be this really kind of quiet folk approach, more ethereal and sort of textured, but not kind of a roots rock record. And it was interesting because we hadn't necessarily talked about that as an approach previous to making the record. And so there's some really interesting outtakes from Total Freedom that were, ideas that we worked on that I'd actually be really interested to hear back. But the swagger of my record was kind of where I think I had intended to go. I really love my drummer, Peter, and I wanted him to really kind of build the foundation of the record. I mean, the foundation's the songs, but I really wanted him to be the guy who brought a pocket to that all the songs would be, recorded to.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
We should also mention the Voyageur, which had Justin Vernon's stamp all over it, from Bon Iver. So there was that kind of indie rock kind of sound, whatever you call it for that. Well, what do you think is next? You got some new songs already and a new idea of a new album? Or?
Wow. Okay, I'm in the hot seat.
No pressure,
no,
but
it's okay.
come on.
Hey, you want to hear a new record? That's encouraging. I should be like, oh, what? You want to hear new music? Yeah, I honestly, it's been a really weird few years for everyone, but I spent the last year I'm sorry, this might be strange to say. I spent the last year without a manager, and it's been very challenging just doing shows, which I really wanted to do. And so I had a really busy live calendar this past year, and it really consumed a huge amount of my energy. And I'm so hungry and excited to write, and yet my time has really been consumed with kind of day-to-day administration stuff that is really bumming me out, but is a necessary part of, anybody's business. So I really feel like I don't know what it is, but I'm desperate to get at it. Mm-hmm. So thank you for asking.
Yeah.
I wish I had a better answer. But I'm definitely I would love to be writing tomorrow. I'd love to be having somebody else handle some emails so I could go write some songs.
Yeah. Okay. So a note to all the musicians out there that don't have managers. They do come in handy sometimes.
Well, also kudos to all of those artists out there who, there are a lot of people doing their own thing. And it's an incredible investment in time. And it's the one thing I couldn't do when I ran Quitters, the coffee shop. It was impossible for me to be at the coffee shop and have my brain be thinking about multitasking and talking to people and, fixing the beer keg or repairing the brewer or, baking scones, and then go home and write songs. Those two worlds they belong in their own sides of the room. They're just not compatible. And so I'm experiencing that a little bit with I don't want to be on my computer. I want to go write songs, but I can't, just immediately get up from here and go be a genius.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. Self-named, of course.
Yes. Well, my wife is a painter and a musician, and she has talked a lot about she can't just go from one to the other. And to us who are not in those worlds, we might think, oh, well, they're similar, right? Same part of the brain, whichever side that is. But no, I can't imagine doing the more administrative and managerial stuff, and then just switching on the creative element.
Yeah, that briefcase songwriting thing doesn't make sense to me. Where someone just goes into a room and says, "Okay, this is how I do it," and it's I think you need to have you have to have solitude and a clear head, and you have to invest in that. The way that you serve it best is to be able to isolate and separate all that stuff. So having management and administrative things is a real value to artists, to be able to do that.
Yeah.
What's it like, Colin? How's your manager?
Well,
lucky dog.
I'm not I don't have as many demands as you do.
I don't know.
No,
you got your Blue Dogs project. You got other stuff.
Yeah.
You need someone to herd all those cats.
Well, I'm looking forward to when that happens for her too.
Colin, would you like to manage me? You sound like you have some free time.
Hey, there's an idea.
I know what I'd be getting myself into. That's for sure.
Yes. We didn't, we should, it'll be part of our second alimony.
Right.
Everyone's just trying to figure it all out,
Yeah.